Good morning, and welcome to Tuesday. I apologize for the terrible shot composition as always. I kind of just wanted to have a deep conversation while I wait for my pain meds to kick in before I start dilating. I want to talk about kind of a deep conversation Johnny and I had last night, because it wasn't pretty. Now, I say all that. No, don't worry, we weren't fighting or anything. It was more of I've been having a bit of an existential dread, pertaining to my life choices, and, last night was kind of an epiphany of sorts. I don't know if epiphany is the right word, but it was more of just like all these emotions kind of erupted, and, we ended up having a big conversation about it all. And what do I mean by that? Well, for those of you who don't know, I used to make gaming content on YouTube. Specifically, I was a Let's Player. I started doing Let's Plays, oh boy, way back when I was 12 or 13. Pretty much as old as I was able to make videos on YouTube, I have been. I originally wanted to get into Let's Plays and learned a lot about it. I actually spent about a year or two just making Let's Plays on my own before I actually started releasing them. I didn't start releasing Let's Plays till like 2015. So I spent like a good 2 to 3 years just learning how to do it before I even started uploading anything. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to make sure they were good. But since 2015, I've just been consistently doing it and constantly trying to change my content, trying to change whatever I could, change my formatting, change anything to appease the algorithm. I even got into streaming because everyone kept saying, well, that's the future. Let's Plays are going to be dead in 10 years. You gotta stream in order to adapt. And for a while, they were right. I actually did quit doing Let's Plays on YouTube for like a year or two because streaming was more successful. And then streaming stopped being successful, so I went back to Let's Plays and yada yada yada. You know, I don't know if I need to go through my whole backstory, but the long story short is I have been making gaming content for more than half of my life. And I was dedicated to it for the last 10 years. And it wasn't until mere weeks before surgery I decided I'm done. And I didn't make like a ceremonial end. I didn't make a video announcing it. I literally just made a post on my YouTube channel just saying, hey, I'm done. Thanks for 10 years. Bye. And I've kind of been struggling with that because Let's Plays gave me a sense of identity. In the most crucial part of my life. Back when I was struggling with identity, and it gave me purpose. And the big thing that I've been struggling with, and it doesn't help that I've just been laying in bed for, at this point, almost 3 weeks now, I feel like my purpose, my sense of passion is just I don't know where it is. And I have so many passions that I want to pursue. So I know I won't have an issue finding something new, but the issue is struggling to come to terms with, do I want to do something new? Or do I want to continue doing more of the same? And one of the big things that we discussed was, well, what are the reasons why I don't want to do what I've been doing for the last 10, 12 years anymore? And there's a lot of reasons for it. A lot of the reasons being social media itself has changed. I got into social media right when a lot of things were just starting. I remember the early days of Facebook. I remember when Twitter was a new thing. I remember when Discord was this brand new thing nobody had ever heard of. I remember when YouTube was new. So I grew up watching all these social medias change. And I can tell you firsthand, as someone who really doesn't use social media anymore, they've all changed for the worse. YouTube has changed for the worse. These last 2 weeks should be the most I've ever watched YouTube, but it's been the opposite. It has been the least I have watched YouTube. I actively avoid watching YouTube. And even though I'm spending, I don't know, probably 4 hours a day just laying watching stuff because I'm dilating, like right now I'd be watching a show. None of it's YouTube. It's all other shows. I've been binging King of the Hill. Why? Because I'm close to finishing it. I really enjoy the show. I want to watch all that there is to watch, and then when I'm done, I want to move on to the next show. I am someone who, I like my content to be contained. I like my content to be its own little personal mental project. You know, for me, watching through all of King of the Hill is a mental project. For me, watching through all The Simpsons was a mental project. And while you don't succeed in every project, you go until the enjoyment is over. And I felt the same way about YouTube. It's why I liked the Let's Play format so much. I liked being able to just have a series that is a game. You just watch someone play through the game, you enjoy that series, that project's done, you watch their next project. I've always enjoyed that format. And the thing that I've learned is most people don't do that format anymore because everything is streamed. The other thing that I've noticed is the content has changed because the algorithm has changed. You know, people don't do these episodic Let's Play formats anymore because the algorithm doesn't push it, because even 10 years ago, everyone understood. The majority of people are going to watch the first episode and the last episode. They're not going to watch the middle of the Let's Play. The majority don't care. And even back then, I understood that and was okay with it. And even though I was someone who watched every episode of a Let's Play, I get it. But that's not just the only thing. I also feel like the algorithm has changed because it pushes content that is, I don't want to say less favorable, because I don't think that's the right word. I definitely think it pushes content that's more for viewer retention. You know, they want to keep people's attention. And again, I just gave an example as to why Let's Plays don't keep attention spans. People only watch the first and last episodes. When you've got a 50-part series of a JRPG, and people are only watching episodes 1 and 50, and maybe a couple episodes in between, it's hard for the algorithm to push you. And that really sucks. Every video has to be a 1 out of 10. And for those of you who don't know anything about YouTube, I don't really want to go into it again. I don't really want to explain things in like super detail. I'm more so just talking about things that I discussed about my existential dread. Yeah, if every video is not a 1 out of 10, YouTube's not pushing your channel. And that's a shame. It also sucks because as I've gotten older, I've watched all of my favorite creators who inspired me leave YouTube, leave Let's Plays. They've all moved to streaming. And I tried to do the same thing, but I realized my passion wasn't there. And it kind of made me want to give up. You know, creators like Tom Fox, Messianella, Proton John, Lucagen, out of the Sugar Conroy, Stephen George. Out of all those creators, the only ones still uploading to YouTube are Lucagen and Stephen George. And Tom Fox. But Tom Fox only does specific series on YouTube. The majority of his stuff is on Twitch. And truth be told, the series he still does on YouTube, I have never cared to watch. I have never cared to watch his Among Us series. And that's the only one he really still does. Lucagen is still doing Let's Plays on YouTube, and I do still watch hers, and they're great. Sugar Conroy still does Let's Plays, and I still watch his, and they're great. But that's 2 creators out of the entire TRG collective, you know? I did find out Attacking Toucans is still making content, and I know Josh Jepson just did his Rayman 2 series, which I did watch that, but it just sucks seeing so many of these creators that I love move on to other platforms, and I understand why. You have to adapt if you want to keep being a part of this formula, and that's the issue. I don't want to adapt. Well, that's not true. I wanted to adapt, and I did for years, but I realized I didn't want to adapt in the way that I needed to. So that's another reason why I didn't enjoy making videos anymore. And the last thing, and I think this is honestly the biggest reason why I have lost my passion for content creation. People have changed. Keep in mind, I got into content creation for one reason and one reason only. I got to share my passions with people who would listen. I came from a home in which every single one of my hobbies and my passions were dismissed, seen as bad, seen as a waste of time. And when I learned about YouTube, I saw that people were able to make money off of passions. Things that I was passionate about, people were building careers off of it. And that, for my family, was the excuse to say, okay, you're allowed to make YouTube videos, you're allowed to play video games, so long as you're making videos on it, so long as you're attempting to make money, so long as you're learning something. And when I started doing it, I realized I found like-minded people who not only had the same passion as me, but had the same interests as me, where I was able to talk to them about it. And it was great. I remember getting into streaming, and actually the first year or two I started streaming, I loved it because I was able to engage with like-minded people. I was able to engage with people who just felt like people, felt like humans. And I think a lot of the reason why I'm a firm believer of dead internet theory and why I'm a firm believer that social media has actually become a plague, I feel like COVID did more than just keep everyone locked inside. I think COVID turned everyone insane because we were forced to be inside. We all congregated to social media, and now it has completely rewired all of our brains to the point that the majority just can't think like logical human beings anymore. Because just within the last 2 years of streaming and doing content creation, I actually groan whenever I get engagement. I loathe getting any sort of feedback because people just can't be normal. And I know that's not just a me thing. I know that's everywhere. And I know people are saying, oh, you can just ignore it. Just ignore that. Yeah, you can ignore it, except for when it's the only engagement you ever get. Again, 10 years ago, people who would come into my chat would just want to have conversations, get to know you, be a normal person. Nowadays, people just want to talk about sex and how much they fetishize trans people. And I know it's different for me because I'm a trans woman, but it just sucks that, the only people who ever comment on my videos back when I was, back on my gaming content were just chasers who only watched me because I was trans. And whenever I go on stream, it would be people who just wanted to talk about how trans I was, or wanted to talk about politics, when it's like, man, I just want to play Mario. And I could go into all that. I could go into how, everything has to be political now, and I know the media literacy of everything is political. Believe me, I know. Xenoblade Chronicles is my favorite game of all time, and I love it because of how political it is. I am okay with politics. But there are some times where politics is just not a part of the conversation. And unfortunately, social media has conditioned a lot of people into thinking that you can only talk about politics. And if we don't know everyone's political opinions 24/7, then they're a Nazi. What I'm trying to say is that passion is still there for me. I'm gonna be blunt. I could probably keep making Let's Plays for another 30 years and be fine. Be perfectly happy. Be perfectly content because everything that I've wanted, I have. The reason why I don't do it, and why, even after talking about it with Johnny, and just talking about it here on the vlog, why I feel like I shouldn't keep doing it, is simple. The world has changed in a way in which I feel like my passions can't be expressed anymore. I got into all of this because I was able to express my passions in a world environment in which I couldn't. I had a home where I couldn't express my passions. So I went to the internet and I grew to love it, and I grew an audience. But now that audience and those that have fueled my passions have moved away in a direction that I don't necessarily enjoy. I've had to learn that my passions are fueled elsewhere. It just sucks. It sucks that the world has changed in a negative way that has kind of ruined my ability to be passionate about something that has honestly given my life purpose for some of the most crucial parts of my life. It does suck, but I'm glad I've been able to figure it out before it was too late, because it's been hard. It's been really hard to come to terms with all of that. And especially as I lay in bed and I can't really do the productive things that I want to do. Really all I can do is sit and watch TV and play video games. It's giving me a lot of time to think. To those of you who are still going, to those of you who are still trying to make it out there in the content creator world, to those of you who are, still just trudging along, just trying to adapt, I respect you. I really do. I used to be that person that everyone kept coming to me and saying, I respect that you're still doing this, but I respect you guys for continuing to do it. I do kind of have hope that the world will heal in a way in which I feel like I can return, but I don't really trust that it will. I think that's just my blind optimism. So, for me, I think once I heal from all of this and I can return to normal life, I can return to my job, I can return to just doing things. I think what's going to be best for me is doing what I can to survive. Doing what I can to feel my passions in a way that I think works for me. And I think my next pursuit is definitely going to be art of some kind. Whether it's I just make a lot of fan art of games that I've been playing, whether it's I make my own video games, whether it's I make my own merch, I don't know. Been really wanting to get a 3D printer. I really want to learn to 3D print figurines and be able to sell stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm still very sad that I'm quitting video production. I really am. I'm not too happy that I've chosen to not pursue this anymore, but I think it's going to be for the best. Anyways, thanks for watching. Sorry I rambled a lot. I think this is just going to be today's vlog. Today's going to be more of the same. I'm going to dilate now that I've had plenty of time to let my pain meds kick in. I'm going to dilate. I'm going to play more Yakuza 4. And, yeah. I guess we should mention, Johnny and I are not quitting the vlog because we just really enjoy archiving our lives, and this is a great way to archive. We actually talked about it last night. We're not quitting the vlog. We are not quitting that anytime soon. One thing I am going to look into today is I'm going to look into free alternatives for Adobe software, because I don't have a need for it anymore. The vlogs are the only thing we're making. As long as I have some sort of free alternative to Photoshop where I can make the thumbnails, and I have a free alternative for Premiere, I'm good. I don't need to be spending $70 a month on Adobe Creative Cloud anymore. Anywho, take care.